Hayuk, everyone. I could wait for people to get in to jump into the live for a few minutes, but I think I may start cooking. Today, I can take a few minutes to kind of explain why I'm here. I'm here because there's a lot of confusion going on. There's a lot of misdirection, misinformation. And I just feel like it's important to have someone bring a little clarity to the table. And that's what I'm offering, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of information. So I usually like to lead with historical, facts, And I did a live on Facebook the other day, and I talked about the fact that, a lot of the documents in Ancestry are remixed. Even the ones that I demonstrated that I had from 2006, 2007 are remixed. Because when you look at the documents that are from 1870 or what have you, you got to understand they didn't have fountain pens. You got to understand they didn't have, pens like we do today. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have this. Okay? So the penmanship was different. The way they spoke at that time was different. So knowing that back in the 1850s, 60s, the penmanship was different. The utensils they used to ink things were different. The English they spoke was different. Should impact what you believe and what you don't believe and what you understand about some of the information. So when we see Black listed and it's 1860, 1850 records, you know that was re-recorded during a time when that term was used. You feel me? That term was not used at that time. See, they like to remix you specifically as an indigenous person and throw what is now back in time. Like right now, what are they doing? Calling Crispus Duck addicts African American, or calling Frederick Douglass African American. All these people who historically were not at the time that they were living in their period of time called African American are being remixed into being African American. You understand how that just corrupts history completely? Hello, American Indian Star. Thank you for being here. Do you know how that corrupts history completely by them using this terminology and then backdating it, right? Backdating it to people that wasn't them. And that's what they do over and over again. And so what I'm trying to say is that when we look at these records, also, we have to understand that this is not a new thing that they're doing with the African American. They used it on the term Black. They backdated that to people that weren't called Black as well. So just getting you to kind of understand that. So, I always tell y'all that I have a lot of historical, you're welcome, a lot of historical records. Okay. And I'm not kidding, because when you do the kind of activism I'm engaged in, you have to have, they keep remixing and changing and hiding. So you have to have it. So this is an example of what, let me give that to you, what really old English writing should look like, right? You see how it's like calligraphy. You see how some of the ink's thin, some of it's thick, some of it's blotchy. There's even like blotches on there. That's real, this old stuff. And this is not, but this, what I'm holding, is a volume of the colonial London Company records. London, okay? We ain't even gotten to be, this is before they even called it the Virginia Company. This is when it's just the London Company, okay? And when you look in these records here, you don't see any 1619. And what you should know is that these records go from like 160, oh God, don't let me rip it, Chad, please. Go from 1606 to like 1622. Okay. All right. And it talks about in the first few pages, in the introduction, it talks about the Indians, the character of the company, etc., etc. But I was going to read a little bit of something. But this is not an old work, but it's not an old work. And usually, like for me, this is an old composition of historical records, but it's not as old as I like things to be. I guess if it was, it would be like some of my other books that are just like, you totally like it's falling apart. I wouldn't even bring it out here and show it to you on the screen because it's so old. But this one's just, it's early, but it ain't early. It's not an early gathering of records. However, the records that it does gather go all the way back to 1606. Now with the 1606 to 1622, this is the collection of records that I shared with Hampton University curator, one of the curators at Hampton University. And I was like, so show me these Africans. Show me the 1619. You had to practice calligraphy. That's good to know. Yeah, to know calligraphy. But yet I said, show me the 1619. We went through it page by page, line by line, with Rhoda Young Live. If you're from the Eastern Shore, if you're from the Hampton Roads area in Virginia, you know that she's like a Facebook news reporter. She's more than that. She's like on the spot everywhere. She's a major, probably most legit reporter that we have in the, I can't say the world, but I can definitely say in the country. So Rhoda Young Live had to come with us to the Hampton History Museum on Hampton University campus in order to get the curator to come out and even speak to us, because they wouldn't even come out and speak to us. You see, truth is being hidden not just by people that don't look like you. It's being mostly hidden by people that do look like you. Like, so all this stuff that we're seeing in media with the Diddy stuff and all this distraction, whoever liked him anyway? Seriously, who cares? And if they want to be nasty and wild and do dumb things and be disrespectful to each other, whose business is it? What is that? What is it? Because we know that what was going on that island, that somehow nobody seems to care about all those big, important people that were involved in that Epstein Island whole thing. What happened to that? What happened to our concern about that? I don't care. Only thing I care about is our children being abducted and abused. I don't care about Epstein Island. I definitely don't care about a bunch of adults doing dumb things to each other. Because this is, consenting adults doing. I don't really care. I don't care. Okay? I care about children being abused and being stolen. Anyway, I'm not going to get distracted, but basically, when we look at our history, we have to understand that that historically, the term Indian was used. Historically, the term Negro was used. And the reason why it's important for some of us to use the correct terminology is because when you go ahead and you're applying yourself historically as a people, as a nation, to what is yours. If you're not going to apply the right, if you're not using the right terminology to address who you are, then you're misidentifying yourself. You see what I'm saying? If I'm like, oh, I'm not an Indian, but yet all my Accomack and land patents say Accomack Indian, Gingiskin Indian, Powhatan Indians. Well, if you're not an Indian, how do you apply yourself to that? So that's why using the right terminology historically to attach yourself to your land, to who you are, to your history is important. No shade on anybody else, but I'm just saying, when you're doing those kind of real activism things, it comes into play. If you're just on YouTube talking about history, then it doesn't come into play. I get it. But when you're actually trying to do stuff, it becomes a matter of issue, because you want to be consistent in how you apply yourself to your history. You want to be consistent with the paperwork that exists. When I bring this into court and I say, look, this is one patent, or this is the promise of the patent, this is the patent, and it says this, it lines up, right? You want it to line up. It's just basic. Like I said, if you're not fighting for your land, then it doesn't apply to you. Okay. If it don't apply, just let it slide. Okay. But if you really are repatriating people, and I get it. Everybody's not trying to do that, or everybody doesn't understand. And I understand why you're not trying to do it. Because let me tell you, it freaking sucks. It's hard. It is horrific. Okay. I am not even joking. Okay. It is not easy. And, I say it's the most powerful thing you can do, because it is. Because, being a nation and actually claiming yourself to be yourself and claiming your land to be your land, that's something nobody does. And that's something that is extremely powerful. But to recommend it, I'm going to tell you that it's horrific, and it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult, and it is horrific. And it's even worse that you have people trying to act like you're faking, or you're, a sovereign citizen, or you're freaking trying to, do more stuff. That is insulting as hell. Because to be the real Indian that you are is the most challenging thing you can do. It's also the most powerful thing, but it's the most challenging. And for someone to call what you're doing something that is not, you better really. But you're welcome. You're welcome, Virginia Roots. Thank you. But I can tell you that seriously, it's a lot. And it's more important than I actually even knew, because now the fact that, the Accomack are the people of Powhatan. Powhatan was an Accomack. That's why Pamunkeys don't really boldly claim him. They cannot. They cannot. Powhatan, Chief Powhatan was an Accomack. Pocahontas was an Accomack. Most of these people that are in like Nottaways, or, whatever, Pamunkeys, whatever, these other nations, these other tribes that are in Virginia are part of the Powhatan Confederacy. But what they're really part of is the Accomack Confederacy, because it was an Accomack Confederacy before Powhatan was born. So what it means is that the work that I'm doing and the work that Accomack are doing is impacts a whole kingdom of people that don't realize they're being fought. They're fighting. They're in this fight. See, you're in the fight that I'm fighting for, even though you don't know it, because you fall under the umbrella of the Accomack, Powhatan, Gingiskin people. You just don't know it. So what we fight and gain, you are gaining. It's a big fight. It impacts a lot of people. The repercussions are great. And that's why I am under such severe attack. Like, I'm being attacked. I'm being my fight is being hidden, and I'm being attacked at the same time. I can't even cry out and get anybody to listen because it's such a conspiracy of thieves, because the entire planet benefits off the theft of America. This is an international plot. Just like the Berlin Conference was done to divide up Africa after America, right? America was divided up before the Revolutionary War. Just understand that the Revolutionary War was our Berlin Conference. And they're about to have a freaking anniversary to celebrate that slaughter. That slaughter and that theft. That is nothing to celebrate. And it's really crazy because I was just like a couple years back being like encouraged that, oh yeah, get involved with this 2050, the revolution. There's money for indigenous people. And I was like, oh, okay, really? Before being really well versed and really well contemplated and really well studied in the history, you're like, wait a minute. The Revolutionary War is how they got here and took everything. Had nothing to do with them being angry about some tea party or being mad at England. No, because think about it. Why are there still 4 states that are commonwealths, just like Jamaica's a commonwealth, or different other places that belong to Britain are commonwealths? Why are there still 4 commonwealths in America if the Revolutionary War was about splitting? Make that make sense. They lie all the time in our faces. Philadelphia is a commonwealth. Virginia, a commonwealth. Kentucky and Massachusetts. And Great Britain has deals and have connections and benefits in all 4 of those places to this very day. There is a relationship still. The people that came for that Revolutionary War, they was from all over. There was French, there was German, there was, well, maybe not German because they was kind of mad at the Germans, I think. But definitely there were Swedes, there were French, there were Spaniards. There was a little everybody that conspired to come to these shores and show up and show out and get rid of the Indian. Put the Indian under subjugation during the Revolutionary War. It wasn't about nothing. It was about, we taking this over. Y'all in or y'all out. And everybody that's in gets in. And that's why anybody from anywhere in the country gets a little piece of this pie called America. Because they all conspired to take it down from the indigenous people. Before they even thought of exploring Africa, they had already carved up America. You see? See, they want you to believe that they knew all about Africa and they was picking up people and just bringing them willy-nilly. Nah, they didn't know nothing about Africa. They didn't know how it even looked. They didn't have a decent map of Africa when they came to America and started doing stuff here. And they weren't gonna because of daggone the diseases. The daggone malaria was too deadly. You think they was bringing malaria and malaria water and malaria people all over here for labor? Yeah. Okay. And you got to understand that even according to this book, even according to this, they were not, okay? They were not important Africans. There's no 1619 in this in these London records. The only thing being brought in 1619 are English prisoners, English orphans by the hundreds. English. You got me? No Africans, no Negroes, no nothing is mentioned. All the way from 1606 to 1622, it's not there. They completely fabricated it. As a matter of fact, they talk about John Rolfe recorded in a letter or some kind of record. John Rolfe ain't even mentioned in these records until 1622. So how'd that happen? He ain't even recording nothing in the records until 1622. So how is he recording something in 1619? How'd they make that up? How'd they make that up? They made that up. So everybody's like, well, what's this? I don't understand. Why are you worried about land? I don't understand what this land and how you going to get land again hundreds of years ago. Okay. Well, we know that there are patents, and we know that there are Indian nations that have patents that are just, they ain't doing nothing about it. They don't care because they're compromised. And why don't they care about it? They care about it because they're compromised in a sense that, first of all, because they know that their cousins that live right outside their reservation or right outside their territory are probably more full-blooded than they are. They know that they had to play nearly white in order to keep their Indian status. They had to keep marrying white. Let's be honest about what's going on in these territories. Can we be honest for a moment? See, people are compromised in different ways. They know that their genealogy is not as rich as their kinfolk that they are denying access to being enrolled. Because they're using the same racism that the oppressor used on them against their own family. You don't have the right name. You don't have the right color. You don't have the right look to be one of us. They let a couple of slide through, but they can't let the real, by and large, true, big numbers of Negroes that are actually parts of these nations in, because it compromises their aesthetic. I'm going to say it, ain't nobody else going to say it. I'm going to say it. It compromises their aesthetic. And they're not willing to fight against the United States because the United States knows that their foundation is not as solid. So the United States is keeping a lie for them. Therefore, they have to stand up and support whatever the United States says. It's very complicated. Because it's like weird, because they have patents and they have the right to fight for these, but they don't. They have to beg, and then half the time, United States gives them the right to be stewards or to look over or to, what are you like? You're the keeper of the land, but you don't actually own it. Like, you can't build anything on it or do anything useful with it, but you can look at it and you can let people walk over it and maybe give tours or boat rides, whatever, but it's not your property. right? Like they took all your land and made it into their farmland, or turned it into their business land, or traded it and sold it and did all kinds of stuff with it, and stole the nutrients out of it, and the minerals and the stones and the, the oil and the coal and everything out of your land. You're not to do that, you see. You're just supposed to be the stewards, like stand there like a steward and watch over it. Yeah, that part. So it's a whole different thing. So you've got people that are like, well, become members of, what's that doing? They don't even have to see. The reason that these nations are not doing their own culture and their own dances is because them people were jitterbugging and zoot suiting and everything when the United States opened up and said, oh yeah, you can claim your Indian again now, because they figured everybody that was the real Indians had long been like shooed away from even trying. So the light bright folks went ahead and was like, we can. And then they were like, yeah, show us your Indian. And they were like, show us what Indian? They wearing zoot suits and freaking, they're cabareting and stuff. They're not dressing. They stopped doing that. I mean, Negroes evolve anyway. So they had to go and look out west and get ideas, of what they did, which the Western natives are different. They're entirely different people. Then, not that there wasn't intermingling, not that they didn't come down and learn stuff from us. Hey, Amani, I'm on the live. Not that they didn't learn things from us. They did learn things from us, and perhaps we learned from them. I don't know, because we had a very advanced civilization, so I don't know what we get from them. But in the end, a lot of these nations that we see today, they take on their customs, their dress, their dances. They're not, like they say, Eastern woodlands. That's so disrespectful. They're not really of the Algonquin or the Iroquois. They're really of Native American. And I'm not going to say Siberian, but if you look up Siberia and you look up the Siberian traditional costumes and you look up jingle dances, it's all there. I don't have to. It's not hard to prove that. If jingle dancing is Siberian, the dress, the dances, all that. I'm just saying, not to be disrespectful. It's a very Googleable fact, right? So the fact is that they didn't even go and see those people until after the Louisiana Purchase, when Sacagawea and her husband, and she had a baby while they were doing it, because they were all like that. They hardcore. And then they talk about Lewis and Clark discovery. How you discovering with a damn guide? See, that's what they do. They lie about everything. How you discover something that was there and has people there, and you had a guide to find it and to help you survive. There was all kinds of Negroes helping you. Please stop. 3 of them, probably more. Yeah, Turkish. You're right, because that's the people. That's the name. That's them. That's the region, right? Right, April. Thank you. But yeah, so not to get into that, but I do want to talk about why fight, because it's like it gets very frustrating me, because I'm doing it and it's really nobody to talk to about it, because it's like I'm doing this, right? And it's really unrelatable. Like, it's really unrelatable to be fighting for your land on a level that we're fighting. To fight on a level where you got these syndicates, these real estate syndicates, these daggone lords of real estate. They're like warlords. These people are criminals. They are gangsters. They just mobsters. They're just European mobsters, and they exist today. That's what you guys got to understand. They're mobsters. Why do I have 51 friggin' indictments? Because of mobsters, man. Because these are the elite. They're not like, they're like Skull and Bones, Black Rock elite. They're the kind of elite that goes to the prosecutor and says, lock her up. And they find something to lock me up on. It's completely fictitious. I never filed a lien in my life. There is no encumbrance on anything. It's impossible. Everything we filed was in the name of being Actimac, and it was from the Actimac to the Actimac. It didn't involve anyone else but us. But they lie. And they've got judges in their pocket. And these whole real estate syndicates operate that way. They've got people in place all over the country, clerks. It repeats itself. See, what I experienced in a microcosm in Virginia with the court clerk being corrupt as hell and letting all kinds of real estate, the daggone commissioner of revenue being corrupt, and letting all these kind of things slide by them, and all kinds of illegal, fraudulent things happen. That's a microcosm, but it's so big. It's so big. It's all over the country. And they got inside people in all these courts. They're lawyers, they're clerks, they're records keepers, they're everywhere. And it's a syndicate. And it's really bad, man. It's really bad. And they'll come for you personally with your property. It came for me. But they're so corrupt, though. That's what's so crazy. They come for me, but they're so corrupt that even when they try to come for you, they're rotten. They are rotten to the core with everything that they're doing. They are taking money from people and taking people's houses illegally all across this country. And we don't even know it because we're in such a struggle. Who has time to fight these people? Who even knows where to begin? Interesting enough, when they do these horrible things to me, it leaves me with no money, but it leaves me with time. It leaves me the time to look at what they are and look at what they're doing. And so, unfortunately, I know exactly what they're doing and how corrupt it is, and how far it goes is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it makes me sad. And see, this is the thing, what people don't know. Well, how is it relatable to me? Well, for people that don't have houses yet, they're making it impossible for you to get there. Like, they're making it impossible. And for those of you who don't seem to notice how it's impacting people who don't have houses and are renting, the rent's going up all over. As a matter of fact, I saw a video about a guy who was like, yeah, I bought my house and I was losing it and went for foreclosure. And this guy, he helped me out, got my house, and I got some money out of the deal. It was fine for him. He only had been in the house a couple of years. I guess he figured getting money out of it when he didn't expect it, I guess, was fine for him. But see, this is the thing, is our perspective is freaking warped, because this is what ended up happening, and this is how he thinks is great, but it's not. He was like, yeah. As a matter of fact, my sister was staying with me, and she has kids, and she didn't really have any place else to go, but he made it so my sister could stay in the house, but she just has to pay more rent. She just has to pay more rent now. And how much more is it going to be next year or in the next 6 months? Where's she going to go? What's going to happen then? How is she going to afford to have money to get into a place after that if she's paying more rent now than she was paying before? See, people, things become unrelatable real easy for us when we get into our little bubbles. We just don't realize how it is for other people. We don't think about it. We don't have that kind of compassion anymore. And I don't understand why. Where did the compassion go? I was riding, getting ready to go home, riding into a little area of East Atlanta I used to go to quite frequently for dinner or whatever. And I was making a U-turn trying to avoid traffic. And I saw people on the steps of buildings in the daytime. I ain't never seen people sleeping in that part of town on the steps of buildings in the daytime like that before. Like, I'm seeing people sleeping in parts of the city that I've never seen homeless people sleeping before. And we might not think that that's important, but it's indicative of what is happening. It's indicative of this land, this real estate syndicate. These criminals are creating that. The fact that there's an apartment complex that's been taken over by Venezuelans and ain't no National Guard coming to shoot them out of there, and ain't no police coming daggone with tear gas and pushing daggone doors in, and ain't no ICE coming to get them. Y'all need to see the writings on the wall, and it don't have nothing to do with P. Diddy or none of this dumb stuff. It has to do with real life stuff like this. So I'm gonna let you see this thing that this brother said in New York. It's a you might need to see this.
Peace, peace. This is Big Hawk, that Yonkers native, the host of Street Talk, bringing you another video. I've known this for a while. Allegedly, I'm gonna have to say it like that until it's confirmed. Allegedly, in the city, a lot of the housing projects are going to be sold to private owners. Allegedly. Now, if this happens, what happens to the people that live here that have no type of money to pay the rent that these private owners are going to be asking for? Because when they do this, y'all already know this, how this is going to go down. You're going to have private developers, allegedly, that's going to be buying a lot of these housing projects. And the majority of people that live in housing projects are Latins and blacks. I've known this for a while that this was about to go down because I was told this, and my partner just confirmed to me that it's going to go down. And some of the projects are in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and I think the Bronx. Allegedly, don't quote me on it, allegedly, this is what they're going to be doing, selling the housing projects to private owners. Now, they did that in Manhattan, down on 20, it's like 20, maybe it's the Lower East Side projects. They turned them projects into luxury. They have public safety officers, special patrolmen that will lock you up. When you get to the gate, you got to show your ID. If you're going to visit somebody, they call them. The person says yes, come through. The person says no, you can't even get there. Now, my friend, God rest his soul, my childhood friend, he had a friend that lived there when it was really bad. If the projects, you know what I'm talking about, it's in the Lower East Side. Those was one of the worst projects ever. And it was sold to private development, and they made it out of luxury co-ops. I mean, tennis courts, you have vending machines in it that sell vegan food. It's expensive to live there. My friend's friend grew up there. So what they did when they sold that housing projects to the private developers, this is what they did. They gave money to the people that been living there for like 30 and 40 years to leave. My friend's parents lived there for like 40 something, almost 50 years. They tried it with him. He said, no, I'm not going to it. I don't care how much money you give me. I'm staying right here. So now, I don't know if he left, but I know he was paying like $200 and something a month. Okay? Okay? I don't know if he decided to do it, but I know he was paying like $250 a month. $250. So they tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to get him out, and he said no. He brought my friend there, my childhood friend, my friend that passed away. My friend told me they got freaking tennis courts in here, swimming pools, workout areas, movie theaters, a vending machine that sells vegetarian and vegan food. So this is what and the thing about it, I used to tell people, and they warned the people in the project, get yourself together, because in a minute, it's going to be sold. In a minute, people are going to be looking for a place to live.
It's not just the Bronx. They took only like one of the beachfront project housings on the Eastern Shore where a lot of our elderly was living, and they took that, even though I filed for a congressional inquiry into the fact that they were trying to take over this project and make it into something private and remove elderly out of these buildings. The Congress people just ignored me. Even my own Congressperson in Georgia, they ignored me about this issue. You see, this whole corporate, the United States is a corporation, and these corporations are running and have been running everything. Some things are not unchanged, and that's one thing that's not. They tried to. Yeah, but people, I mean, I don't know about people being ready to go, but I'm sure everybody wasn't ready to go. See, that's the whole thing about it. You're ready to go where? And then when you really look at where that's going to send you, where is it? Where are the options? Where are the options? So, what's important about this? What's important about repatriating and being an activist, a Landback activist, is because everything is rooted in the land. Who you are is rooted in the land. Everything we can stand on is rooted in our land. Everything that they're trying to take from us is rooted in our land. If we were not tied to this land, they would not be murdering us all the time. They would not have us in the media humiliating us all the time. They would not make you think everybody's going to get lynched, or everybody's going to get humiliated, or everybody's a thief, or everybody who's us is all kinds of wrong, if we were not tied to this land and the right to it. That's why it's so important that we reattach ourselves to our rights and to our lands, because that's the only way we can protect ourselves for the future. If we let that go, first of all, I think it's been very, very many hundreds of years before, since we've actually been knowledgeable of our actual factual rights when it comes to our land. And now that we're coming to an understanding, it's an imperative thing that we move rapidly to fight for that. Not just be like, oh, well, how does that help me? How do I? There's a lot. You can't do anything until you actually fight for it. And you can't do anything until you actually obtain it. It's not, you're not going to be able to understand or really feel that impact until that happens. But it's very important that you get to that place. It's really important. Look what they're doing. It's happening all over the place. People are being displaced, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. And they've been doing it systematically to us specifically for forever. But in the last 20 years, it's really been bad. When that whole bank scandal happened with Obama, I think the real thing about it was just getting all those Negroes out of them houses, especially here in Atlanta, man. So many people lost these big old mansions. They didn't even have a right to take those mansions. They bailing out the banks, and the banks didn't even have a right to take their houses, if the truth be told. But nobody, it happens so fast, and we are so like unaccustomed to doing anything other than what's prescribed that we didn't see any other recourse. We didn't see any other recourse. But if we actually took the time to understand how corrupt they are, and let me tell you something, they're so corrupt. Let me tell you, they're so corrupt that they sit up there and will have you paying your mortgage and have no right to take your money. They are not the authorized, they are not the assigned debtor. They are not a secured debtor. They may not even have your signature on anything. They don't have nothing to give you when you pay it off because they ain't got nothing that's attached to your property. That's the fact of a lot of people today. You're paying somebody that don't have a right to take your money, let alone take your house. That's what we need to understand about how corrupt things are today. I could get into it deeper if y'all want to, but not tonight. What I want y'all to understand is that Landback activism, saying, look, this is my land. We have a right to it historically. We got the paperwork to prove it. Now what? It's a dangerous thing. The repercussions are big, man. They will try to freaking annihilate you in many ways, literally. But how are we going to change the world if we don't change? How are we going to change the world if we don't take a chance? It's an activism that is necessary. Yeah. And then people like, well, you can't get your family together to do nothing. Y'all think my family is some miracle place? No, they don't understand half the stuff I'm doing. They don't. I mean, some do. I'm not saying they all do. I probably got more people to understand than probably a lot of people, but the reality is the most of my family that is supportive, the Acamacs that are supportive are my kinfolk that are Acamac. The kinfolk that I found out is my distant cousins because we're all Acamacs. Those make up the big push behind me. People I didn't know before I actually repatriated who I am. That's the power. The power is in them kinfolk you don't know yet. That's why it's worth it. It's worth it on so many levels. I can get into it real deep with you, but not tonight. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. It's still early. Y'all can go to do what you got to do. But I did want to share that this is a tough road. But it's a tough road with a reason, because they coming for us and they've been coming for us. But right now, with all these immigrants coming in here and them steadily pushing people out to the streets that aren't immigrants, it's really imperative that we fight for our land in many, many ways. And land back activism is important. Have a good night. And thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Before I get off, did anybody have anything they wanted to? Did you want to hop on and join? Let me just open up the mic a little bit because somebody might want to say something. And before I get off, I'll just leave a few minutes for that. In case anybody wanted to hop on, I'm just going to open up the mic for a couple minutes before I end the stream in case somebody wanted to add to the conversation, because it is a very hot topic. It's something that we need to be talking about, something that we need to be talking about more than this other stuff that we're talking about. Because let me tell you something, we can't do nothing. I mean, politics is a joke on both sides, on all sides. It's a joke and a waste of time on this presidential stuff. It's not even, we shouldn't even call it presidential because it's ghetto as hell. It's the worst. It's the worst. The United States is embarrassing politically. Let's just be real. So let's not even talk about that. Our stars, our musicians, our everybody, that's a joke. Everybody's compromised. They lying about how much money they making. They broke. They not getting paid. They're letting foreigners come in and take up all their roles. I mean, it's a joke. These people are very compromised. And the more you see, the more you know it. So there's that. Anything else anybody want to join in? The link is in the chat if anybody wants to hop on before I get off. But I appreciate everybody for being. Thank you, V. Cooper. Thank you, April. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. I know some people are on Facebook. Some people are on different, different social media platforms. I do also want to thank everybody for hopping on our website, and we will be updating it more because, the more we grow, the more we know, the more we need to add. But I do realize there's been a lot more traffic on our website, acamac.org. I also want to let you all know that, yes, we've learned a lot. We've learned about the fact that we've been transported away from America to Africa twice. They got rid of these Acamacs to Africa twice. First, we were sent to Sierra Leone, then we were sent to Dagon, Liberia, where we are. They really want to get rid of us wealthy landowners on the Eastern Shore. That's part of your heritage. You need to know it. And also the fact that we have kinfolk that got left and got pushed up into Nova Scotia before going to Sierra Leone. That's part of our story too. We got ancestry that leads us to there, or actually leads them back to Virginia's Eastern Shore. So that's fascinating as well. But we've been done wrong too many times. They've tried to do many horrible things to us over the years. Like I said, we're the first Tulsa. Okay. We're the first Tulsa, had our town burnt out, people lynched over us being major exporters to different countries, Canada and Cuba as well. So, I mean, we have to understand that, these historical things have been done to us. It's time for these things to be righted. And they're not going to right themselves. And they're not going to right themselves by us claiming to be African when we're not. That's ridiculous. And they know it. You got to know which fight is the real fight. And the real fight is the one with the most legitimate records and history attached to it. And being your true self is key to that. And finding your true connection. We'll talk a little bit more about that next time I come on. I may just help y'all with your genealogy and just tuning into your true connection. Let's get that going. Let's try to get some real work done. Let's try to get people whatever it is you're looking for. Let's try to help each other. I want to say peace. I want to say Anna, and have a good night.